dear friends, and welcome to Kazan Federal University News. My name is Olga Danilova. Let's start. During its 1,000-year history, Kazan often resounded all over the world. Of course, we remember that here just recently passed the Universiade 2013, and a year later the city will take World Acquaintance Championship. But if you look far into the history, then you can see, without exaggeration, what is admired by citizens of Kazan and many inhabitants of the world. It is Kazan Chemical School, the pride of Kazan, Russia, the entire planet. About its recent and past merits we will tell you right now. Kazan Chemical School, with a history more than 170 years ago, is bright and full of major events and great names. In 1841, in Kazan University was held its first discovery that brought worldwide fame not only to the scientists, but also the city. Kazan was talked as a cradle of a new school of chemistry and anticipated her great future. It is about opening of the 44th element of the periodic table of chemical elements, ruthenium, by Professor Karl Klaus. But the genius of scientists was not even in it. Later, he trained the student who surpassed the teacher. He was Nikolai Zinin. Under the guide of the famous teacher, Zinin didn't just love chemistry, but he lived and breathed by it. And a year after the discovery of ruthenium, a pupil of Karl Klaus again shocked the scientific community. The reduction reaction of aromatic nitro compound was opened. Zinin reaction, as it was called later, made a real revolution in chemical science. In Europe, it was first talked about organic synthesis, and Zinin himself almost was equated to the saint. However, the glory of Kazan Chemical School forget not only by Zinin and Klaus. In Kazan University there were created such conditions and such atmosphere that geniuses were literally born every day. Markovnikov, Flavitsky, Wagner, Arbuzov, and of course the author of the theory of chemical structure of matter, Alexander Butler. The street in Kazan and Chemical Institute of Kazan Federal University are named after him, as well as a classroom preserves science the time the great scientist. This audience is the cradle of Kazan School of Chemistry. Here many famous chemists started their work, and then they traveled around the country and even abroad, and to promote their scientific ideas there by developing a chemical science. Kazan Chemical School is widely known even nowadays. Glorious history and rich tradition today are continuing in Chemical Institute named after Butler of Kazan Federal University. It has all permissions for great discoveries. For example, recent years the staff of the institute have seriously rejuvenated. There are many young professionals studying science since student time, and many of them, in consequences, remain within the walls of native alma mater. These young scientists are future of science, because a qualitative leap, a science, and most importantly the idea of the primary importance. Young scientists have both of these qualities, and they are ready to benefit not only the native university, but to science at all.
Traditionally, the Kazan Chemical School is very strong by their development and research in the field of all areas of chemistry. Traditionally, it's organic chemistry, but last decade the accent has moved to the biomedical investigations, application of chemistry in biomedicine. Happily, we have a lot of young scientists who are interested in development of chemistry. We have enough of interesting results that are published in many international journals with high impact factors. That is very important for the scientific community all over the world.
Chemical Institute is one of the most important and leading chemical institutes in Russia, so our institute is very famous not only in Russia and all over the world. We have a lot of scientific research in different fields of chemistry, analytical chemistry and organic chemistry. Special attention our scientists pay on the study of new catalysts for industry, for oil industry, oil recovery industry. Also we have some new achievement in the field of pharmaceutical science, in the drug discovery. So, for example, in our institute there are few groups which work on the study of new drugs, of new drug delivery systems, so it's very good research.
In the Chemical Institute, the level of technical equipment seriously increased in just the past few years. Through the participation of Kazan Federal University in the development program of federal universities, equipment for chemists was purchased for several $1 million. Some of this equipment is still only waiting in the wings, and the other is already working for the benefit of science. Cutting-edge instruments gradually master future Zinin and Butler. By the way, this set of tools for high precision fusion research has neither one university in Russia. Moreover, the chemical laboratories of Kazan Federal University can rightly be called a world-class laboratories because many devices here are unique.
Here you can see one of the modern equipment, monocrystal diffractometer, which allows to receive a direct photo of the molecule. And such equipments, very expensive equipment, stay in the most of our laboratories.
The possibilities of these and many other devices standing in the laboratories of the Institute seem fantastic, but young scientists have become accustomed to modern technologies in science. You could even say that with many devices they long for you, and this is almost half of the success. So new developments of Kazan Chemical School are in the nearest future. Pharmacology is another priority area for research, not only in the Institute of Chemistry, but throughout Kazan Federal University. This research direction in the wall of university was made possible by university's participation in the program of Russian pharmaceutical and medical industry Pharma 2020, and it just recently intensified. Decision of the participation of Kazan Federal University in the federal target program Pharma 2020 was adopted in spring 2011. The ultimate goal was then announced the creation of scientific and educational center and pilot production of innovative medicines and substances. From the outset, it was clear that this project will require fundamental changes in the infrastructure of the university and its educational programs, because the program Pharma 2020 means not only an increase in the share of Russian medicine to 50%, but the creation of a true network of research centers on the development of medicine and medical equipment. Among these centers must enter at Kazan Federal University. Therefore, this issue came up in high school with all seriousness. Under the Research and Education Center of Pharmacy at the university identified a total of 5,500 square meters. You know what is the scale, and almost all of these were raised from scratch. Immediately after the decision to participate in the program, there was created the Department of Medical Chemistry and then the center. A little later, we built a laboratory where in the future all scientific research will be held. Finally, we decided whether to organize pilot production of drugs on the territory of our partners, Him Farm Preparats. These areas we have to learn yet. The new campus of Research and Education Center of Pharmacy is equipped with the latest technologies. Currently, there are 3 departments at once: pharmacology, gene and cell technologies, and bioengineering. Most of the laboratories in these 3 departments have already functioned. Others are preparing to launch. Established center allows making world-class research, from the synthesis of new drugs and their animal studies to clinical trials. Works on creation of anti-cancer, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial and innovative medicines take place there. And in the near future, they are going to put research in the field of gene and cell therapy on a steam. In this area, positive results will allow treating coronary heart disease and multiple gene mutation in the body. Also, it will be possible to restore human organs after serious injuries, including oncology. Research and Education Center of Pharmacy has already established cooperation with colleagues from RICAN in this area.
In particular, Institute of Fundamental Medicine and Biology is interested in so-called translational medicine. When biologists or biomedical professionals develop some kind of tests or techniques or technologies, and then they implement these technologies into clinical settings to help doctors.
Research and Education Center of Pharmacy will reach the highest results to 2020. In the near future, the university management plans to establish pilot production at the center and to obtain a vivarium for the first innovation experiments. Their results will be soon.
Kazan Federal University is too colossal for everything that happens within its walls. Simply, it is impossible to follow. However, you are incredibly lucky. Right now we will tell you about the most memorable events in our informational review. In the middle of February, Kazan Federal University for a few days became a world center for the study of the universe. The leading scientists in the field of gravity, astrophysics and cosmology came here all over the world. The occasion was the holding of the International Winter School Seminar Peter Reading 2014. This scientific forum is held already since 1987 and is dedicated to the famous scientist, the founder of Kazan Scientific School of Gravity, Alexei Petrov. Annually, his followers and disciples scattered all over the world gather to honor the great theoretician and teacher in Kazan.
And of course, this is very important because there is a possibility to bring people from outside. Otherwise, it's you know, the topics of the conference is modern physics, you know, modern cosmology, astrophysics, and things like that. And certainly, this is important. This is important for development of science in Russia, for modern Russia.
And here is another renowned scholar, Sasha Tsonikova, offered to go down to Earth. The famous author of more than 70 articles and books of housing policy, restoration and sustainable urban development, made a series of public lectures to students and teachers of the Institute of Management and Territorial Development of Kazan Federal University. The University of Calgary's professor shared with a large audience her views on urban planning as well as talked about years of experience in the development of housing and urban development projects. Each thought of the North American guest sitting in the hall literally grasped on the fly, especially the listeners like the forecast of Sasha Tsonikova on future. According to her point of view, in the nearest future, major cities and megacities will be transformed dramatically, and it is connected with a vital necessity.
So it's really imperative that we go back to cities and we reinvent these places as places where less environmental impact is generated, where we could minimize the ecological footprint of these places.
About the environmental safety was told at agriculture exhibition held recently in Kazan. 150 Russian international companies and organizations, including Kazan Federal University, took part in it. It is known that nowadays it is hard to find products without chemical additives and pesticides. However, thanks to scientists, biologists and physicians, to get organic food is quite real. In this case, Kazan Federal University has moved far ahead. On the 18th Agricultural Exhibition, our university presented practical development on environmentally biological additives for agriculture. These supplements stimulate plant growth and development, increasing their resistance to diseases that are harmless to humans. Work of the university scientists was praised by the President of the Republic of Tatarstan, Rustam Minnikhanov. While scientists are trying to protect the ecology of the planet, the soldiers protect peace around the world. In Russia, they have their special holiday. It is a day of defender of the motherland. Every year on February 23rd, thousands of men, those who have already given their duty to the motherland and those who are yet to accept congratulations from the female half. In Kazan Federal University, the holiday is celebrated in a special way. On the eve of red dates in the university, there were military patriotic games. Students took part in them. They competed in physical fitness, speed, reaction, as well as the dismantling and assembling machine. In short, all the components of the defender of the motherland. Of course, it was not without winners, but there were no losers. This was our kaleidoscope. Bye-bye!
Many mineral resources have one common problem. Sooner or later their stocks will run out. For example, according to the most optimistic forecast of scientists, oil will enough for maximum 150-200 years. And Russia is one of the first predictable fuel crises. However, in Kazan Federal University, scientists are sure that things are not so bad. According to last counts of the world's largest oil and gas chain, British Petroleum, oil in Russia is not enough for more than 20 years. But right here, it's worth noting that British scientists took into account only a Dixon reserve of light oil, while most of the black gold bowels of the earth are rich on so-called heavy oil. And this resource's volume are so huge that its development may push the problem of like hydrocarbon for several hundred years. But the fact is that the extraction of natural bitumen is very costly, both in money and in terms of technology. So scientists around the world think of the solution of this problem, and Kazan Federal University has his indiscreet contribution in developing new technologies for production of extra heavy oil. And here they are ready to create a high-tech research center for a speedy solution to this problem.
We plan to create a new laboratory, a very big laboratory, which will be consist of specialists from Institute of Geology and Oil Recovery Technologies, from the Institute of Chemistry, and from the world-known universities and very well-known scientists who work in the field of in-situ combustion. We plan to do a thermal chemical analysis of heavy oil, and we want to make some recommendation how to do this process more effectively and more rapidly.
Not only foreign specialists and scientists from various departments of the university will be attracted to work in the new laboratory. For example, Chemical Institute named after Butlerov is ready to work closely with geologists as well as the Institute of Physics. But the development of technology of situ combustion requires the participation of the wider range of scientists. That is why the first step to solving the problem was the interdisciplinary seminar where young scientists from the Institute of Geology and Petroleum Technology shared their views on new technologies in the production of natural bitumen. Presentation of achievement and development sparked unprecedented interest among the participants. One after the other were showered offers from IT specialists, mathematicians, and even environmentalists. Everyone can do a real benefit in this project.
Main problem is how to decrease the viscosity of this substance, and there are several possibilities, for example using aquathermolysis reaction as well as using, for example, gamma radiation or even some chemical processes connected with combustion.
Despite the fact that the new laboratory for the study of new technologies in oil production is still only in the development, Kazan Federal University scientists firmly agree that the action they do are sure to benefit society. It is possible that these young people with their development in this field of science disproved the claim of scientists that oil production in Russia is very few. That was all for today. Thank you very much and goodbye.